Hey y'all, Hilary here. Today's recipe is my version of the roasted cauliflower soup, and right off the bat I have decided to show you some other tricks and tips of some cooking hacks. I guess they're not really hacks, they're just tricks when things don't fit right and it's kind of irritating. So one of the first things obviously you want to do is preheat your oven, and for this recipe you want it to be at 425, so that one's not a trick or tip. You just want to make sure your oven is at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And then for me, because basically I just don't like washing dishes, and the least amount of dishes I can end up with in the end to have to wash, the better. So I like to line all of my cookie sheets and things like that I can with parchment paper, so it's easy cleanup, and then I don't have to wash the cookie sheet, hopefully. The problem is right now, I will show you, the parchment paper is too big for the cookie sheet. So, quick hack, so you don't cut it and it's like this way and not straight. A really easy way to do that, in my opinion, I have found. Let's see if I can get a good angle on this, or I'm going to try really hard. It's probably not going to work the way I want it to. We're going to try anyways. I'm going to try anyways, I said. We're going to put it up here, like so. I'm hoping that will show you what I want it to. You put one edge of the parchment paper flush against the edge of the cookie sheet, and then you cut, well, you definitely want two sides, because two of my sides are going to have to be fixed. So you have two sides flush against the cookie sheet, and then the other two sides are going to have to be cut. Now, keep those flat, keep those kind of taut, and then you're going to kind of make a crease here, and then with a knife, you're going to just slice that paper, and it should come off nice and neat, but I want to make sure I get the other side too while I'm here. Make my crease first. Makes the cut a little bit neater, in my opinion. Your knife should be pretty sharp. It's not a butter knife, as you can see. And then you should have, well, that one didn't cut all the way. Hold on, gotta go over this side a little bit more. You should have a pretty perfectly cut piece of parchment paper for your cookie sheets. Pretty nifty, right? Ta-da! And nothing is uneven, it fits perfectly, and when you're done, throw it away, right? So, there's another tip for you. Alright, and these are the ingredients we're going to be needing for our roasted cauliflower soup. So I'll go from the right to the left. We have some leftover green cabbage over here. I would say chopped up, it's probably about a cup, maybe a little less than a cup. We've got a whole head of cauliflower. Not too big, but definitely not tiny. We've got half of a white onion. Yellow onion is fine as well if you've got that. We've got some garlic. Honestly, for this recipe, if you have the whole garlic, like the cloves, that would probably be better for this, but minced garlic will work just fine, and that's what I have. We've got some black pepper, some paprika, some salt, comino, and olive oil. I might throw some other things in there later, I'm not quite sure. Supplies we need a cutting board of some sort. I like my silicone ones from Tempered Chef. I love them so very much. Use them all the time. We need some kind of very sharp knife, strong sharp knife to cut our cauliflower. And we need our parchment lined cookie sheet. You will need a large cookie sheet to fit the entire head of cauliflower, cabbage, and onion, because it's going to take up quite a bit of space. So just make sure you have a pretty large cookie sheet and it is lined with parchment paper if you don't want to clean up so many dishes in the end. So those are the supplies we need, or the ingredients and supplies, I guess, that we need right now. In the end, we will also need a pot to put it all in. We also need a blender. an actual blender. High efficiency would be best if you have one. So please make sure that all of your vegetables are nice and washed. My cauliflower is still a little wet from being washed, you can see. You can actually use the green. We're not going to today. You can save it for a later, maybe a stir fry if you're going to do some kind of Asian inspired dish. It's similar to the taste of green cabbage, but I'm just not feeling it today, so I'm going to save it for another day. You don't have to. You can toss it or compost it or put it in your green bin or throw it away. It doesn't really matter. We're not going to use it. Now, is there a trick to getting this pesky stalk out of the cauliflower? Yes, but I don't have the tools to do that. When I used to work at a specific restaurant a very long time ago, we had a really cool tool where when you cut into it and then you banged it really hard, it would come right out. Anyways, I don't have that tool, so I'm going to kind of try my best to do it my way. Be very careful, please, with your super sharp knife. This is a Cutco knife, so I know it's very sharp. If you know Cutco, you understand that. It's just a very sharp knife. So cut around kind of at a 45 degree angle. Not all the way in. You can see I'm only going in about maybe 2 inches into the center. 3 inches, maybe max. You don't want to cut all the way through right now. If you do, it's not a big deal. We're going to cut it all up anyways. But right now I just really want to get this center stalk part out to get it out of my way. And then we're going to cut the rest of this into florets. Alright, so I got a big chunk of it out of the way, but you can see there's still quite a bit more in there. Right now I'm going to help myself out by literally just grabbing a big part of this and pushing down with my other hand and pulling apart. So I get a big floret and I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to keep doing that and just getting florets off. That's what these are called if you didn't know that. Florets. Cauliflower florets. We have broccoli florets. Same thing. It's in the same family. We're going to keep doing that, and you'll see kind of the center stalk kind of just crumbles off anyways. What we want in the end, our size is about this big, but we don't want this giant piece of stalk. So if you have this piece already, kind of chop it off, and you can just throw that already on the cookie sheet. Speed is not necessary right now. Also, perfection is not necessary. So try to just have fun with this. Get a little, I don't know, dance with it. Get some music on. I don't know if you can hear my music. My music is going on in the background. I like to dance with that with my cooking. Sometimes, I don't know. I definitely like to sing. Talk to the dogs sometimes. Alright, so you can see most of everything is broken apart now. I don't really like these little pieces. It's not a big deal. It's all going to get cooked and mushy in the end anyways, which is what we want. But what you're going to want to do, this is too big. Okay, so we want to kind of break this up. If it's too hard to break apart, like if you're struggling, don't force it. Cut it. Okay, it's not a big deal. But you want pieces about the size of like a little smaller than a golf ball or a ping pong ball maybe. Ping pong is better. Golf ball's too big. And you want less of the stalk, more of the actual floret part, because that's where we are going to get a really good kind of potato-like texture. This is a really good recipe for people who are trying to cut back on the high glycemic index, or the if you're diabetic, or if you're on a specific diet plan. Weight Watchers. I'm doing Whole30 right now, so that's why I'm doing this one. I can still have potatoes, but it's just a good soup. It's got a good texture to it. I'm definitely a texture eater, so I like to played around with different textures and what kind of mimics other things in my foods. And cauliflower is a really good one to replace potatoes or rice. If you've never played around with cauliflower rice before, I'll be doing another video on fried rice, but instead of rice, using cauliflower. And it sounds really weird, I know. Don't diss it yet, because it's actually so weird how similar the texture is and the flavor. It's so bizarre. But yeah, so cauliflower is like a magic vegetable, and it's so, it'll take on like any flavor you give it. It soaks up whatever you put it with, so it's really good. It also, like, it has so many good nutritional things with it. So cauliflower is awesome. Does it smell really good when it's cooking? In my opinion, no. But the good outweighs the smell, so whatever. Alright, so you can see obviously little bitty pieces are coming off too. That's fine. You don't want a lot of those because it's going to be a little bit harder to work with later. But you definitely don't want the giant pieces. They're going to take too long to roast. Okay, so make them a little bit smaller. Tiny is not the goal, but giant is definitely not the goal either. Tiny will get mushy too fast, and giant will never get soft. So, happy medium in the middle. Just kind of eyeball it. I'll show you my cookie sheet when I'm finished with it, and you'll see what I mean. Just finding kind of the middle ground there. Remember, we're just, if you need to, kind of twist it too, that helps. After we finish the cauliflower florets, we're going to add in our onion and chop up our, sorry, I'm losing words right now. What is that? Cabbage a little bit more, and add that in as well. And it's going to just be a really good marriage of flavors. And then we're going to, when it's all done and roasty soft, it'll come out. We're going to roast, or we're going to blend it all together in the blender and eat it. It'll be delicious. What's your favorite soup? I do love potato soup. I don't know what my favorite is though. It's a tough one. Do you like broccoli cheese soup? That's honestly never been one of my favorites. It's too thick. I don't know, almost sweet. I don't do sweet. Soup should be savory, right? Anybody else with me on that? Is that just me? I don't know. Anybody? What about cold soups? Does anybody like cold soups? I've never had cold soup, so I can't really say, but also I'm kind of in the boat, like, shouldn't soups be hot? I don't know. My opinions, guys, my opinions. Alright, we are down to our last floret here to chop up, or break up. My cookie sheet is getting pretty full. Getting pretty full. Alright, oh, we got a little bitty one on there, and then the rest of that stalk. And ta-da! The last one. Little bitties on here. Alrighty. And because I have an apron, I can just wipe it all off. It's just vegetables. Alright, so here is the cookie sheet, nice and full. You can see. We're going to add all of our spices with the vegetables in here too. Oh, that's a little big. And we're going to mix it all together in just a minute. So, placement's not a huge deal right now, but we do want it to be kind of even and not all jumbled up in one piece once we put it in the oven. Just kind of for the future moments. Alright, next up is our cabbage. It's already mostly chopped because of what I did yesterday. I made cabbage stew with my turkey pinwheels, or not turkey, pork chop pinwheels. Alright, so just a rough chop is fine. rough chop. Remember, this is just, it's not like bite size, it's just enough to roast and get soft in the time that we have it in there, because then we're going to blend it. If you've ever eaten raw cabbage, at least green cabbage, it's very tough. It's not unpleasant tasting, it's really not unpleasant, but it is very tough. So it needs to be, in my opinion, boiled or roasted or somehow cooked to be easier to chew. Alright, so we got our cabbage, onion, thyme. You know what, I'm actually going to do my garlic first. Oh no, I forgot a tool. I need a spoon, sorry, because I don't have the garlic pod, or garlic cloves. Alright, so I'm going to use like a tablespoon of, I might use more than that, garlic, and I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it all over my cauliflower and I'm going to use more. And cabbage, because I love garlic. If you love garlic, man, give me some love, because that stuff is good. Alright, garlic's in. Oh, I love the smell of garlic. I love the flavor. I love everything garlic. Alright, now, onion. Again, with the onion, I'm going to kind of just roughly chop it. The outside, obviously, we don't want to eat that because it's nasty and it's dry and that's not what you eat. So, just peel off the outside real quickly until you get to that nice shiny, wetter layer. We don't want that dry, peely part. That's not very good. Okay, and then this part we don't want either, so we're going to kind of very carefully pierce. And once we made that little pierce right there, we can now chop it off. And don't need you. Alright, chop, 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 turn, chop, chop, chop. And if some of your pieces are bigger than you think they should be, turn it again and chop it again. It's fine. Again, perfection is not the goal here. It's just get them in the oven because Hilary is getting hungry.
How Kid is helping to raise dozens of kids.
Alright.
It all started with lemonade.
And we still need to season, so don't forget that. That's like one of the most important pieces. I'm sure it would be great. Uh-oh, onion on the ground. It would be fine without seasoning, but it would be a little boring. Alright, so right now this is what I see. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my trash really quick. And then I will get the spices. This to the side now and get over here. Alright, so remember we had some olive oil. And just kind of drizzle that over the top. Don't want it to be drenched, but you also don't want your vegetables to burn without any moisture. Okay, and then we're going to go kind of moderate to liberal with the comino. Like maybe a, I don't know, let's do like a teaspoon and a half maybe. Salt. My salt comes out really fast. That's another tip. I don't know if you saw me do that. I poured it into my hand first. You never know how fast your salt is going to come out. And it could go on either ends there. It could not come out fast at all, and then you're under salted, or it could come out really fast like mine does, and then you're super salted. And I just like to know what I'm putting in there, so I always pour it in my hand first and then kind of sprinkle it around so it's an even spiel there. Same thing with my pepper. It also comes out really fast. I would do about maybe a half a teaspoon of pepper. And again, just kind of sprinkle it nice and even. we're gonna mix it all together anyways in just a second. And a little bit of paprika for some color. Like maybe another half a teaspoon of paprika. If you're super fancy, you could have all these measured out beforehand and put them in like a little bowl and mix them together and then just sprinkle the whole thing over. Whatever. Alright, I know my hands are clean. If you're not sure about yours, maybe you should have done that beforehand. But mix it all together with your hands. And then we want to make sure it gets all back out in an even layer, kind of like it was before. We really want to get all those, oh, there goes the cauliflower. Want to get all those flavors in here mixed up and make sure all of our pieces are nice and coated. If you need more olive oil, you can drizzle a little bit more. Remember, we don't want it drenched because we don't want oily vegetables. We just want them, I don't know why I said vegetables, like vegetables, whatever, vegetables. We just want them enough liquid on there so they don't get crispy and dry. Alright. So it looks like most of them are nice and coated. Get them nice and evenly out there on the cookie sheet again. And then pop this in the oven. That should be preheated at 425 for a good 30 minutes. And I would check it at maybe 20 and just kind of poke one of the bigger pieces of cauliflower and see if it comes with a fork. If it comes out, if it pokes really easily, you're good. If it's like really hard still, another 10 minutes, okay? Some good old veggies in here, nice and roasty veggies. They're nice and cooled off, which is why this is a different video segment. They're roasty and nice and flavorful. I'm trying to get that in the light for you to see. But they're cool to the touch now. That's important, especially when we're about to blend things. As you can see, it's in my blender. Because if you blend something that's hot, the heat from that something can kind of explode a little bit in your blender, so we don't want that to happen. That being said, I do have some warm chicken broth, which is what we need as our liquid to blend in with our vegetables. Now, you don't want hot liquid because of what I just said. You might need it to be warm because I had to use chicken bouillon. I don't have like canned chicken broth or the pre-made stuff, so I actually had to make it with bouillon and warm water, boiling water. But right now it's been a few minutes, so it's not hot, but it's still a little warm. So it's been enough time where it's safe, where hopefully this won't blow up. That is the plan. So I have 4 cups of chicken broth here. You can use vegetable broth or beef broth. Chicken broth, in my opinion, is the best flavor combination here. But again, if you're a vegetarian or vegan or trying to cut back on animal intake, I guess, you will have plenty of options. I just noticed though, I'm not following my rules. I don't have my apron on. One moment, please. Getting there. Also, I'm not going to be adding the entire 4 cups at first because it may be too thin. That's completely your opinion, or your what is your opinion? But it's my opinion too. It's whatever thickness of soup you like. If you like a super thin soup, add more broth. If you like a thicker, heartier soup, don't add as much broth. I'm not really sure what I want yet, so I'm gonna kind of do maybe 3 cups at first, and then if that's still too thick for me, I'll add a little bit more. So slowly, don't pour it all at once. Smells really good, guys. Alright, so it is getting pretty full. Just slow down right there, and we've got, yeah, about a cup left. And it's good. We're good. Alright, and my options on my blender, I'm going to choose the blend option, and then I might go up to liquefy if I need to, so hang tight for the noise. Well, that's not too bad. The dogs don't like it. So you'll want to blend it for a good solid minute at least. I'm going to show you what it looks like kind of right now. Kind of looks a little bit like split pea soup if you've ever had that, which looks, I mean, not the most appetizing at the moment. It's kind of chunky still. So I definitely want it a little smoother than that. I don't know if I want it thinner. I don't know, let's give it a taste, shall we? Oh, that tastes really good. But it is still pretty chunky, so we definitely need to blend it some more. So I'm not gonna have you watch that. I mean, obviously it's just blending stuff. I'm gonna cut until it's done. Alright, so it's the consistency I like. This is what is left of my 4 cups of liquid, which is about, I would say about a quarter to a third of a cup. So I used 3.5 to 3 3/4 cups of chicken broth, and this is the consistency you should end up with. So it is very reminiscent of split pea soup consistency. And there you have it. It is delicious, and you can kind of finish it off with a little bit of give it some green. Ooh, I wish I would have kept some cauliflower. That would have been fun. But that's okay. We can give it some parsley, because parsley is fun. If you have fresh stuff, guys, that makes things so much prettier. But look how pretty this is. And what would make this even tastier if you're not on a Whole30 or a vegan diet, some cheese sprinkled Parmesan or something like that would be even more delicious in here. So it is really good. Roasted cauliflower soup, guys. Hope you enjoy.